Welcome to SHAA, the Sound Healers Association, founded by Jonathan Goldman in 1982, bringing education and awareness of the use of sound and music for healing and transformation. SHAA features presentations by founding pioneers in the modern sound healing field, and we have a sound healing directory allowing you to list your work or find practitioners and teachers. There's a monthly online meeting, a blog, a vast resource of articles, and much more. SHAA, the Sound Healers Association, is dedicated to bringing harmony to the world of sound.
Okay, here we go, and we're jumping in now. And again, I'm Steve Farrell with Humanities Team. I'm here in Boulder, Colorado. I live near my dear friend Jonathan Goldman and his wife Andi, and it's my pleasure to be here just to introduce Jonathan and Andi as this program starts. So, and of course, this is a Sound Satsang, and it's a monthly program now that Humanities Team is really grateful to be producing each and every month with Jonathan and Andi. So thanks for being with us. I think you're going to have a fantastic time. Let me just want to read a brief introduction here as we get started. So Jonathan and Andi Goldman are a powerful pair in the world of conscious living and sound healing. Jonathan is an internationally recognized authority, pioneer, and author in sound healing. Andi is a licensed psychotherapist who utilizes holistic treatment and sound healing. Both are highly respected leaders in the sound healing and spiritual music community. Andi and Jonathan have co-written 2 books together, Chakra Frequencies and The Humming Effect. And again, I'll just share, when we came out a moment ago, Jonathan and I were sharing that sound healing is really taking off as it should, because it is, as we're creating conscious living in the world, sound healing is a big role. It's an incredibly useful device. And you're looking at the man here, Jonathan Goldman, who got this whole thing started, was called to it at an early age, and hooray, thank God he was, because look where sound healing is today. And my pleasure, Jonathan, to turn this over to you.
All right. We on here? Is everything ready to rock and roll? Hello, everyone. Thank you, Steve. I want to make sure that perhaps our view is change the speaker. Yeah. See if that does it. That didn't do it. It's okay. Hi, kids. We're just trying to deal with technical
go back to gallery.
Technical issues. And what's so interesting, if you think about it, is that there are things that happen with Zoom and these other platforms, and they allow us to communicate with you over long, vast differences, to the degree that at times we can see as many people in a month as we might see in a year.
And we are absolutely, we had a few technical difficulties prior to this, but we are delighted to be here. And we do want to welcome everyone and just thank you to Humanities Team, Sound Healers Association, Healing Sounds, to put on a program like this, it actually really behind the scenes takes a village. And so we are grateful and say thank you. And most of all, we say thank you to all of you for joining us tonight.
It's a real blessing to have you here. As you may know, tonight is the 11th Sound Satsang that we have done. And this one is based upon, we open it up to questions and answers, and we received really more questions and answers than we could have ever possibly perceived we would. So we're only going to be able to answer a few, but I think they give us a really nice direction in terms of other places to go, in terms of your interests and what would be of greatest benefit to you and to anyone in the sound healing community.
So basically tonight we're going to be answering as many questions as we can. And after that, we will have a brief astrological assessment. This is a powerful, potent time right now on our planet. We will then have our guided global sound meditation. So I think we should just jump right in, Jonathan, and start. So let's do it.
So indeed, thank you all for being here. And one of our questions, believe it or not, was, what is a sound satsang? And I would say, okay, because I would say that a sound satsang, the word satsang simply means community, or teaching, or discourse. And I like to think that we are all of them, particularly because when we sound together, as we are going to be doing in our guided global toning session, we do come together, at least etherically, to shift and change and affect the actual vibrational level of the planet. What a blessing. So that's what a satsang, it's a gathering, if you like. Someone else asked, where can they find previous sound satsangs? I'm just going to say that we have on YouTube, my YouTube channel is Jonathan Goldman Official. And also, Humanities Team has the Humanities Stream, and they are also available there. So check them out, because they're all really good teaching resonant vehicles.
And lots of great information on sound. And so when we were receiving all of your questions, and thank you all for writing in, we were just delighted. We got so many. And so we've got a lot, believe it or not, on humming.
Right.
And so,
not the only thing, but
not the only thing, tuning forks and frequencies and all kinds of great questions. But we're going to start out with a couple questions on humming. And the first question, Jonathan, if you're ready, is from a lovely person by the name of Nancy. Shall put on my glasses here. And Nancy asks, when I hum, do I need to use low tones for specific effects such as peace or joy? Or can I use any tone that sounds good to my ear? She says, so much is made of raising our vibrations to help the planet. If I need to tone low or high, I'd really appreciate knowing. So, Nancy, we're going to let you know right now. Jonathan, take this one away.
All right. Can I answer this in a few simple minutes? And I'd like to suggest that this question actually was phrased differently by a few different people.
Right.
And it had to do with the concept of raising our vibrations and the relationship of sound to this. I want to phrase it like that because raising our vibrations and frequencies of sound are not necessarily the same. Low sounds, deep sounds, are not necessarily, oh, I'm feeling low or blue or whatnot. And high sounds are not, oh, I'm feeling really happy and joyous. It's not. From many, many years of working with so many different venues of sound, I would like to suggest, as an example, the Tibetan monks do a very, very deep sound, which is almost lower than any human has a right to make sound, and yet it is among the most sacred and luminescent acoustic fields that can be created. And high frequency sounds, well, they can be very, very positive or not. It depends if you're listening to well, I won't even get into things that are not, because I don't like to do that, but there are many high sounds that are perhaps warnings or whatnot to get out of the way, and we may react differently. So I'd like to say that first and foremost, with regard to that, it seems to be mostly what we've always talked about, Andi, the fabulous formula.
The fabulous formula, frequency plus intent equals healing. So knowing what your intention is really is vital when you're making any tones at all. So,
really, just more thoughts on that for a moment is the fact that depending upon who you are and what you need, it's just so very, very important. The field that we create with our sound is so, if you like, entangled with our consciousness, that therefore, if we have a belief that a specific sound is going to create a specific effect, well, odds are that that's going to happen. But if we're kind of open, or we realize that we can literally encode any sound with any sort of effect, that can happen. And the last thing I want to say, just with regard to this, is that there's a phenomena called harmonics, which means that when we hit a note, there's a whole series of notes that occur. So when the Tibetan do this very, very deep sound, they're also creating these really high harmonics. So it's actually a combination of all these different things, plus the encodement, the sacred encodement of intentionality that creates, whether it's raising our vibrations or not.
Lovely, lovely. Thank you for that question. And we next on to the next question. Actually, we had a number of specific questions regarding different aspects of the use of humming to assist anxiety and trauma, and particularly PTSD. And what I'd like to say about that, when we were writing our book, The Humming Effect, one of the things that we were hoping was that we might reach veterans who were suffering from PTSD. And what I'd like—
PTSD?
And post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah.
And it happens to a lot of people who are in war, but also it happens to everyday people with traumas that they experience early in childhood. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to just read a couple of sentences from a beautiful, beautiful person, veteran by the name of Tony, who we did put in our book. And he says, "When I practice meditation and humming, I've noticed a significant decrease in my irritability, anger, disassociation with the present moment, and nightmares. I do not have the same level of tranquility, clarity, and rest when I neglect my humming practices and just leave it up to the meds." And so veterans who might be struggling with PTSD, yes, indeed, humming can be so helpful. And
he's been doing lots of workshops with
he
veterans,
sure has.
so blessed be.
Yeah. And of course, you don't have to go to war to be a sufferer of PTSD. When we are children, many times we have had deep traumas that have affected us, and they go into our unconscious. And so as adults, we overreact sometimes to particular situations. Our emotions go a little haywire. That's an indication that you could be struggling with post-traumatic stress. And so we do recommend humming is such an excellent form of shifting that energy. And, you might have anxiety and levels of stress. Close your eyes, take a nice deep breath, and begin to just hum. And even if you do that briefly, you will be able to shift out of that stress. And of course, if you are, suffering mightily from PTSD, I would, recommend it, getting professional help. But to become your own therapist in the moment, try humming.
And I'm going to chime in here and add some thoughts. First of all, the idea that trauma seems to be very, very big right now. I see a lot of people doing workshops, seminars, summits, what have you, focusing on trauma, which I think is simply an acknowledgement about how all the stress and all the shifts and changes that have occurred on our planet beforehand, and particularly now in recent years, have really affected us and maybe traumatized us. And there's even, of course, the phenomena of working with hereditary trauma, family trauma, and stuff like that. And the hum is just such a wonderful vehicle on a level, as we've talked about before. You get all these physiological changes causing the reduction of heart rate, respiration, brain waves. You get literally the vagus nerve gets affected. And that's really the nerve that works with the parasympathetic nervous system, which engages our relaxation response, for want of a better term. And it's really, really wonderful if we can just take some, and this fellow Tony was saying meditation and humming. Sure, I mean, you can hum, but if you hum with some nice deep breaths.
Nice diaphragmatic breaths, and really begin to feel that deep breathing, relaxing your body, and then begin to hum. And this can be effective whatever level of anxiety or stress you may be experiencing.
And I'm going to personally share that when I feel some sort of stress out, I do try to basically find a space where I can, for even a few moments, few minutes, I take a couple nice deep breaths, and then I do the hum, and I will encode upon it for myself a lovely sort of white gold color, and feel it just permeating my entire energy field. And that really is helpful. So once again, focusing our intention upon it, so giving it a purpose, whether you're using a color or whatever, an image or a being, but it's so important because the sound carries the energy that you're putting on it and really helps create the effect. So by itself, humming is wonderful. Coupled with intentionality, visualization, whatever, it's really mandatory for those of us living on this planet now.
And whether you can do it for 30 seconds or 15 minutes or 5 minutes. And that actually brings us to our next question, Jonathan. And this is from a lovely person by the name of Keiko. And she says, I've recently reread your book, The Humming Effect, and I realized that you limit the humming duration to 5 minutes in your different suggested practices. So I've been wondering if there are any reasons why we should stick to 5 minutes. I've been practicing 15 minutes of humming, followed by 10 to 20 minutes meditation daily. I've been noticing improvements in my sleeping and sense of smell. And this is the next part that I love. She says, I am in my 79th year. So my question is, what is the most effective duration for humming?
Well, Keiko, first of all, blessings to you. Thank you for writing. I hope you're either going to be seeing this now or in one of the reruns, but a great question. I say it's a great question because we talk about, oftentimes when we demonstrate humming, we'll do it for 3 or 4 times, and you can feel an effect after even 3 or 4 times. In our book, we usually talk about 5 minutes of humming and 5 minutes of silence. And I'm going to suggest that I have a, if you like, an app and a YouTube video. It's a 7-minute chakra tune-up, which has gotten millions and millions of people using it. I love it. But recently I saw the 1-minute chakra tune-up. I'm going, golly gee, people these days seem not to have time at all, which is why we oftentimes do the hum for a minute or 2 just so you can feel this. But in truth, if we have our druthers, we tone, we hum for about 15 minutes, and then we're in silence for about 15 minutes. And I will suggest that if you do that, it can be a truly psychotropic experience and a regenerative experience for the body, mind, and spirit. Do all sorts of things to your chakras, positive things, connection to the divine. It's really amazing. So on a level, sound is cumulative. So the more times that you do it, the more you'll be able to feel the effect, and the longer you do it. Now, I have a caveat. I don't suggest, that you necessarily hum all day long, unless that falls into your category of being. But 15 minutes on, 15 minutes off of silence.
Right.
That's good.
And Keiko, we were delighted to get this question. And for the other people who asked a similar question with humming, we hope that these first questions and the information we've shared have spoken to those. We got so many, we just had to kind of take a few. But Jonathan, I'd like to now.
Oh, look, I got to add some more. I got to add some, because I think this is such an important question of how long. Kids, I got to say that we are living in an accelerated vibrational field of our planet, and we just don't have time to do anything anymore. And it's really okay if we take a little time for ourselves to experience meditation, bliss, sacred sound in this manner. I'm one of those people who's caught up in the whole frenetic energy that exists. I guess a lot of you are, and I could go into reasons for that, whether it's information doubling every 2 minutes, or all these different things happening with the internet. Doesn't matter. We really need to be able to go still, go within, listen within, and create that vibrational resonance.
Mm-hmm. And I want to add one. We keep wanting to add one more thing, but I think it's really important to always check in with yourself, and what feels right for you is what you want to do. If you want to hum for 15 minutes, meditate for another 15, that's beautiful. If you'd like to hum for 5, that's fine, but do what is in sync with your own vibration.
Right. And balance, I think, is the key.
Balance.
And also, I was just thinking that, for example, with TM, Transcendental Meditation, they do it 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the afternoon or evening. And you could also do that with a humming practice. It's whatever works for you. If you only have a couple of minutes, hum for a couple of minutes. If you've got more time, do it. And be in balance. Make sure that you're still able to make food and stuff. Don't, or you can hum when you're making food. I don't know.
When we were talking about conscious humming, but I'd like to jump now into a section of questions that we got around the subject of tuning forks. We seem to have gotten many questions. We got one from Suzanne, and she says, I ordered your tuning forks and love them, but not sure if I need to use them every day. Also, is it good to use when angry? This is a great question, and I'd like to start out by saying absolutely, Suzanne and other people with the same question, please use them every day. And in fact, if you can develop a practice with your tuning forks, for instance, as an example, in the morning in my meditation, I will tune myself. I'll use my C and G. I do that every morning. Before I go to bed at night, I do that tuning once again. And I do that pretty religiously. And I think that that's an important key, is to absolutely do your tunings every day. And when you are angry, when you are in any kind of emotional upset, frustration, anxiety, whatever, if you get your tuning forks and give yourself a tuning. In fact, Jonathan, I'd like to even demonstrate that.
Okay, there's one over there that you got to reach. Oh, well,
what about your ones here?
No, they're not. All right,
Here we go. Here we go. Sorry, we thought we had these together. But anyway, what I'll do is I'll just get them vibrating, put one on each side of my ears. I will do cross lateralization. And of course, my eyes are closed and I've set my intention to regain my balance, etc. And I'll also use them to balance and align my chakras. So absolutely use them every day, and use them when you are in any emotional distress.
But relating back to our last question, you can use those tuning forks, hit them, and you can use them for 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes. That's all you need. So in other words, I would be saddened if people were walking around with tuning forks all day long. No, you don't need it. Sound is also, particularly the tuning forks. And once again, every type of sound is different. Humming is a whole lot easier to do than walking around with tuning forks in a subway or whatnot. So these are just things to think about. And particularly, if you find you're stressed out as well, humming and tuning forks are great. If you find you're angry, they really, you hear it and These are the Pythagorean sacred ratio tuning forks, the C and G vibrating the ratio of 2 to 3. And they have a wonderful, wonderful way of balancing the left and right hemispheres, balancing our auric field, really, if you like, putting our emotions into balance. They are a key tool for assisting balance. So I really want to suggest that if you've got tuning forks, play with them. Don't, sadly, I've given them to people. I go, hey, using your tuning forks? Oh, I got them somewhere. No, I mean,
the thing
you
that
gotta play with them.
that I like about it, it's very easy, to use them. It's very easy to hum. So these are tools that can be so beneficial. And we do have a follow-up tuning fork question from Xavier. And he wants to know, why is the pineal activator tuning fork so much shorter than most tuning forks available? And does the different metal color have a purpose to enhance its effectiveness? And Jonathan, I think you wanted to answer this one when we were talking about it earlier.
did. And Andy, I'm going to ask you to, when it's time to just demonstrate the tuning forks, we're going to hit the fabulous Zoom original sound from musicians on so that you can hear it, because otherwise Zoom has a wonderful built-in noise suppression, and oftentimes you won't be able to hear the tuning fork. It'll cut it off sometimes immediately, sometimes not quite yet.
No, I know.
After a round.
We just got to do it.
Right, an organized team. So I'm doing something without getting too complicated, but I mentioned that there's this phenomenon called harmonics. And one of the things that happens when notes double is that the octaves double. And that when you listen to sounds, they're literally composite sounds. Now, this tuning fork vibrates at 256 cycles a second. It is the note C. And it's about very close to mid C on a piano. And I'm going to hit it.
Are we ready?
We'll see. Yeah.
Get over there if I can. All right, it's
go.
on. Now we
I'm gonna
should
hit
be able
this
to hear it.
now. And you can hear the frequency range of this. Now, so this is 256 cycles a second. Look, notice the length. Now here is a tuning fork that is the same note C, but it is a couple of octaves higher. This is 1,024 cycles a second. And when I hit it, you can see it's much higher. The shorter the tuning fork, the higher the sound. And then this is the note C, but it's the fifth octave of it. And listen to how high this is. And I'm going to be very careful when I bring it over, because it can almost be a piercing sound. So notice the difference. Shorter is higher, longer is lower. And I could even go low. Here is even lower. This is 64 cycles a second, etc. So the thing is that the longer the tuning fork, or the longer the vibrating field, the lower it is, the higher. And I just happened to find a tuning fork cut to the pineal frequency, but it is not gold. It is silver, and it works the same way. I made it gold because I thought it was a very, very powerful, wonderful frequency. So I just wanted to bring a little special attention, because after all, I am Goldman. And but literally, the color doesn't really do much. You could perceive that perhaps it is helping permeate a golden aura, but it's pretty much the same sound. But I just wanted you to get the idea that the different sizes of the tuning forks are what cause their length.
All right.
All right.
Are we ready
Thank you, Andy.
for our next question?
Yes, wow.
Okay, and this is from Marius. And he says, I am a sound healer and I used only acoustic instruments. Is it true that electric instruments like guitar and synthesizer lose a lot of healing frequencies? Great question. And we had a few in this category.
Right. And this is also, first of all, I am going to suggest, I was just tonight going on the Healing Sounds website, and there's an article I wrote, wow, probably 25 years ago or more, called 9 Insights into Sound Healing. And one of the questions really had to do with this aspect, because sound is a waveform and it can have many different shapes. A lot of people who work with sound don't really realize that. So an electric waveform versus an acoustic waveform. I totally understand that. I have a dear friend who still is a wonderful sound master who does acoustic concerts, which is fabulous. But there is, because he does them in large auditoriums, the instruments are mic'd. And as soon as you mic an instrument, even if it's acoustic, it's going into an amplifier, and then therefore the signal is all of a sudden being shifted and changed. And, I say, well, is this acoustic or is this electric? And so that's, a question, because I don't have a definitive answer. Is it more healing? There is nothing that I've ever experienced that is as wonderful as having like 100 people in a room together doing sacred sound, toning together. That's the best thing. But we can't do that all the time. And I'd like to suggest that when we're dealing with then recorded sound or amplified sound, what is the speaker that you're using coming through? What's happening? I think Marius might have also asked about CDs too. I think that may have been the second part of the question. And that's, there is this whole, if you like, quandary about, are CDs less or more healing than analog, which would be record players or even cassettes or tape. And then when you're dealing with digital sounds, which are CDs, then the question is, are you working with a MP3, which means that the sound is compressed like this. So there's a lot of sound being lost. But still, with that in mind, I'm going to go back to our old friend, frequency plus intent equals healing. Because I have had some really funky cassette recordings of spiritual masters chanting mantras in craggy, out-of-tune voices, and these sounds have healed people. This gets into other topics as well, but once again, it depends upon the intentionality. Just real quick, when I do recordings, CDs, I will take the finished CD master before it's being duplicated, put it in a crystal grid, and do all sorts of ritual ceremony work, asking the beings of light and love through sound to come in and code themselves. So I think, perhaps that has to happen, because sound is sacred. So I'm giving you one little tools that I utilize, and for us to realize that probably the best thing is acoustic. But at the same time, it's so important when we're doing acoustic stuff or electric stuff or whatnot to encode it with the correct intention, the correct healing, with the correct resonance. I trust this makes sense to everybody.
Thank you for that, Jonathan. And you are an expert at putting beautiful frequencies and intentions into your recordings. I wanted to mention that.
Thank you, my dear.
Yeah.
Hey, it is time.
No, I want to just mention, though, we had so many questions and we obviously did not get to all of them, but perhaps down the road, we will do another satsang that will be just Q&A.
And also some of these have just been such extraordinary questions. I say, okay, and actually we're going to talk about them after the astrological assessment, after we do a guided Om together. And we can get back, we're going to do one more question and talk about some of the other questions and what's up. And, if you can, we'd love to hear from you, see what resonates with you, because that's our purpose. Our purpose is to assist you.
Yeah. So, Jonathan, I think we will go on. I wanted to do a brief astrological assessment because right now on our planet, it is a very potent, powerful time. In fact, last night at around 12 minutes after 10 o'clock p.m. here in Colorado, we had a solar eclipse, a new moon solar eclipse. Now, when we have a solar eclipse, the energy is more potent for that new moon. And when we have a new moon, it's always such a beautiful time for new beginnings and to start afresh. Now, interestingly, this particular new moon solar eclipse is so powerful because, for one reason, it is in the 29th degree of Aries. Aries is a fire sign. It is action-oriented. It is dynamic. And in fact, this particular eclipse is being called a huge fireball of energy. So there can be a real turning point happening on our planet for humanity with this astrological energy, and also for us personally. And of course, new moons are beautiful times to set new intentions, to set goals for ourselves, and to look at really going within and seeing where we can make some changes that will assist us and give ourselves space at this particular potent energy to really meditate. And where do we want to make those changes in our lives and utilize this Aries energy? Aries energy is so dynamic. I mean, it gives us courage and confidence and determination, and it really encourages us to keep going and not to give up. The Aries energy, I love this. It represents the I am principle. And when we can become clearer about our sense of self, we step into our power. So I encourage self-reflection for people during this particular time. The last thing I have a great metaphor that I wanted to share, and that is the Aries energy. It can be like a seed bursting forth out of the soil into the light. I loved that metaphor because that is what we can do. We can burst into the light, keeping our frequencies high, having those vibrations of peace and love and harmony, really being, particularly with this Aries energy, because, it can be challenging too, but to really be mindful of keeping our vibration high. So enjoy this powerful, potent new moon solar eclipse in Aries. And Jonathan, anything
All right.
you want to say?
It's time for our global guided Om that we're all going to do together. And for those of you who've been part of our community before, this works with heart-brain coherence, which creates basically resonance entrainment between the heart and the brain. We add that then with the energy of sound, and we create an electromagnetic field that can really reach out and literally interface with the Gaia matrix. Don't really need to tell you much more about it because the guided meditation itself, as you listen to it, will give you all the instructions that you need. And then please join with us with the recording of the Om sound.
Right. And when we do this guided meditation, and of course, having just talked about the astrological energies and the potency of this Aries solar eclipse, new moon, let's set the intention of really opening ourselves up to receiving the highest vibrations through this meditation on this particular potent time. And by the way, we do continue to feel the energies of an eclipse 3 to 6 months after the eclipse happens. So this is energy that's going to be with us. So let us utilize it and be magnets of that high vibration.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, this is, we love these global toning sessions, because part of the purpose for doing any sort of gathering is that, I made a sort of, I was guided, if you like, to whenever I got together with a group of people, that we would use sound not only for personal healing, but for planetary healing. As we like to say, we heal the planet, we heal ourselves.
We heal ourselves and we heal the planet.
So now, Garth, if you can begin, and we'll do this, and then we'll be back in about 9 minutes or so. So enjoy that. We'll be toning along with you.
The purpose for this meditation is to project a sound encoded with the energies of light and love, and project healing to the Gaia matrix, our beloved planet Earth. We will first create coherence between our heart and our brain. This effect will further be amplified by the power of the Om that you will be toning along with later, bringing more light and love into your body, mind, and spirit for health and wellness. And now, begin to focus on your breathing. Breathing in and breathing out. Slowly breathing in and out. And as you're breathing in and out, imagine or visualize that you're breathing in and out through your heart. As you're breathing in and out through the area of your heart, remembering that it is love that breathes each breath, and it is love that causes each beat of our heart. Continue breathing slowly, breathing in and out in this manner. And now, I'd like you to call to mind something that has brought you a great deal of appreciation, gratitude, something that you are feeling very good about. This might be an experience with another person. Perhaps it's a beautiful sunset. It may be a beloved pet, a spouse. But it is something that has brought you loving kindness and gratitude and appreciation. And as you're breathing in and out through your heart, feeling this appreciation, feeling this gratitude, you're creating a beautiful coherence between your heart and your brain. And your heart, through this coherence, is expanding, getting larger and larger, and connecting with all the heart and loving energy on our planet in this moment. This is just a wonderful way of creating a very powerful heart activation, and you'll be amplifying this with the sound of the Om. Continue breathing slowly and deeply while feeling appreciation and gratitude, and imagining your breath going in and out through your heart. Now, visualize this energy and begin to sense a radiant light around you that is permeating every cell of your body and resonating your heart chakra. In a moment, we'll begin to gently sound forth with the power of the Om. And as you do this, visualize the planet Earth as a holographic image floating in front of you. Imagine bathing the Earth in a healing field of light and love that you are creating through your sacred sound. Now, let us begin to make the heart sound of the Om, bringing the energy of global harmonization, peace and healing to our beloved planet, Earth. One last time. Now, being in silence, visualizing all the light and love through sound that you have manifested, resonating and bringing to Earth and yourself to a deep state of healing. when you feel ready, open your eyes and know that you have contributed to personal and planetary healing.
We're back. Hi.
Take a moment. So we have a few minutes left to wrap up. And once again, we just want to thank everyone for being with us, for sure. And thank you for all your questions. And Jonathan, it's my hope that we will be able to do another Q&A Sound Satsang. But the neat thing is we got such great information and direction on topics that we can actually cover
and
in future Satsangs.
Indeed, since we're here, I mean, some of them, I'm just going to go, the use of sound for the birthing process, huge and really important, and we haven't done it. The relationship between sound and light. We've talked about creating light from sound, but what is the relationship between sound and light? Different tuning systems, such as working with 432 hertz versus 440 hertz. Using sound to activate the third eye, the ajna center. Correlation between sound, thought, and consciousness. Then
a lot of information.
2 or 5. We're not done yet. You ready? The angel of sound. We haven't shared this in our private teachings. We really the energy of the angel of sound is an extraordinary being, and that would perhaps be a great Sound Satsang. The divine name is one of the most powerful, if you like, sacred sounds or mantras, if you like. And finally, today, one just came in asking about the future of sound healing. What do I perceive of as being happening in the world of sound now and in the very near future? So these are all great questions, and just some of them. So keep them cards and letters coming in.
Yeah. And I think we had that one question that we were saving to the very end. And would you like to say that question, Jonathan?
No, you do it. All right, I will. And the question is, this is from Lucas, who said, do you have any golden advice that I can use in my everyday life? Not gold man advice, but golden advice. And I love that so much, because that just sort of reminded me of all things golden in terms of the concept. You know, ultimately it sort of breaks down to do unto others as you would have do unto you, which breaks into the aspect, from my perspective, that it's so very, very important for us to continue to be in deep compassion to ourselves and to each other during this very, very interesting time on our planet. There may be forces around that are trying to sort of divide us, if you like. And that's the easiest way of manipulating and controlling people, is dividing them. But if you can sort of, we like to practice compassionate understanding. You know, you may not agree with what somebody says, but give them the right to say it, and don't make them wrong, and have them not make you wrong. You can sort of agree to disagree, but you know what a wonderful world this is, because there are all these billions of souls, and not one of them is the same.
Well, and what I would like to say, in speaking to that very thing, is that we are each unique expressions of spirit. And my suggestion, my golden rule is, be gentle with yourselves and be kind and loving to yourselves, because when you can be that way to yourself, that's what you are able to project out into the world. So be kind and gentle, and just know that you are so unique and you are a magnificent being of love and light, and utilize your sounds, holding intentions of the highest vibrations.
Even if it's just the conversational voice and you're talking to somebody, boy, you can do so much healing just with your voice in conversation, because so many people are stressed out, feeling isolated and alone. And just with your voice, you can reach out and you can soothe somebody. You can be compassionate, and what a blessing it is.
And so just, gosh, holding all of those thoughts, and particularly at this very, very powerful, potent time on our planet, with all the things that you just said, Jonathan, in terms of, you know, the divisiveness and so on and so forth. Let's really use this potent solar eclipse, new moon energy to raise up those vibrations. And we can do that. We have that ability within ourselves.
So listen, we want to see you next month on Tuesday, May 23rd, May 23, at 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
Tuesday, May 23rd, 7 o'clock. And I just really strongly got that the subject is going to be one that has been near and dear to my heart for over 40 years, mantras. So I'm going to be sharing some stuff on mantras. Yeah, that'd be great. And so we look forward to doing that, and just sending blessings
of love and light through sound to everyone. And thank you all for being with us. And thank you, Humanities Team and Sound Healers Association.
And Healing Sounds, and all of you wonderful Sound Satsang beings.
Until next time, bye for now.
Bye-bye.